If there's one man in the Boruto 2 Blue Vortex story who wakes up every morning, pours himself a cup of ninja coffee, looks in the mirror and says, human lives are temporary but victories forever, that man's probably Kashin Koji. And the wildest part, this man truly means it. Because while Boruto's out here fighting for friendship because he's Naruto's son, Kashin Koji is busy calculating which handful of people might need to die in 4 or 5 timelines from now, so humanity has a slightly better chance of not becoming chakra fertilizer for Jura. But here's the problem. Boruto 2 Blue Vortex chapter 28 quietly revealed something terrifying. Koji might potentially know that more deaths are coming and he's hiding them. Not because he cares, like seriously, Koji caring. Not because he's sentimental, really. But because in classic Kashin Koji fashion, knowledge of those deaths would make the very people involved hesitate. He quite literally told Inojin that was the case. And hesitation means a broken timeline. And a broken timeline means, hey, Jura might win. So join me in today's Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, is going to be diving into the real reason Kashin Koji is hiding the fact that someone else is potentially destined to die, and why his current strategy, specifically the plan that he gave Shikamaru to defeat Mamushi, is actually one small layer of a much larger, colder, and more terrifying endgame. Also on the Naruto Explained Teespring, we have new merchandise. We have the original Boruto Chief Collection. One is in Naruto colors of orange and black. You have the 6 paths Magatamas forming in a circle. You have the letters OBC in between them. You have the Naruto Explained logo you'll be seeing in videos in 2026 down below. And if you look inside of the letters, a really cool Easter egg for you Boruto and Naruto fans. You have bolts and screws. The Boruto logo has a hex bolt for the O, and Boruto wears a necklace that is a screw, which is an homage to Neji because Neji's main name means screw and Boruto's name means bolt. Links will be down in the description box, as well as the 15% off discount code, which is only good for this month. We're working on pink and black to go alongside the blue and white and the orange and black variations. Obviously pink and black being a nod to Boruto. So first we have to start with the fact that Kashin Koji is that consequentialist guy who has that perfect vision. So I think it's pretty obvious to say Kashin Koji is a consequentialist to a terrifying degree. Every major moment he has had influence on in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, it all drives home that philosophy. Yodo dying, that was acceptable. Inojin almost dying, well, hey, he lived, didn't he? Boruto's emotional stability, that's irrelevant. Like, you can have like 100 midlife crises as kid, just focus on killing Jura. If Sakura's out there worrying about her daughter, that's not his problem. Shikamaru's sanity as Hokage, he don't really need that right now. He just needs Shikamaru to not get removed as Hokage. But here's the thing, Kashin Koji isn't doing these things out of cruelty, far from it. He's doing them because he's seen the 10 directions, overlapping timeline branches that show him probability, inevitability in some cases, and the cost of choosing one path over the other. This is how he knew, hey, Yodo, she gotta die for Sarada to reawaken her Mangekyo. We gonna need that thing in the future. Inojin, he almost had to die in order to have Himawari awaken Kurama's power. Kawaki breaking the timeline after Boruto took the information he had about Kawaki, said, get your limiters a move. That caused the timeline where Mamushi attacked Konoha. Now, we are trying to prevent the timeline where Eida and Himawari ended up dying in that altered timeline. So you might be asking, well, if Koji knows all this, why don't he share that information? Because Kashin Koji genuinely believes that knowledge is a curse that changes behavior, and behavior is what breaks fate's structure. Is what he's been hammering home numerous times with 10 directions. He does not share all of the intel he has. And chapter 28, I think, gives us a smoking gun that he's still hiding something about what's going on in the near future. Not necessarily the Mamushi fight, but something afterwards. So Koji's conversation with Inojin in chapter 28 It's one of the more chilling ones when you think about it, because he tells Inojin that if a person knows they gotta die for the greater good, there's no guarantee that they're going to jump to their death. They might hesitate. It's a human reaction. And a hesitation, it destabilizes a timeline branch. Let's say that someone like Kiba needed to die in order to have Jura finally be defeated. Jura might be getting ready to kill someone else. Kiba might need to jump in the way, and then he thinks, I can't die a virgin, and he does not die. Suddenly, Kiba gets the entire planet killed. That line from Kashin Koji, it wasn't about being edgy. It was pure foreshadowing. Koji didn't say this because he was talking to Inojin. He said this because I do believe he's already seen possible deaths with 10 directions, and he's hiding whose death it might be. It might be Inojin finally dying again. We don't know. That death is something that he's not going to allow to not happen. If the timeline gets changed in another way, so be it. But if he reveals that someone had to die, it might lead to someone like Boruto or Sarada or Himawari, Eida, someone who knows that someone needed to die to act differently. Koji refuses to allow emotion and just being a decent person alter probability. And that brings us to why Mamushi's attack truly matters so much. On the surface, Koji, he's being such a swell guy, isn't he? He's helping Konoha do exactly what Shikamaru wants. Find and neutralize Mamushi. But underneath that, Koji, if you think about it, he only wants Mamushi out the picture because Mamushi is the one variable who kills Eida and Himawari in that altered timeline that was created when Boruto told Kawaki get his limbs removed too soon. So if Mamushi does kill them, then that leads to major issues. Both of them matter. And that brings me to why you should care about Himawari and Eida being alive. It just comes down to the fact that both of them are too valuable to lose, and the story has been spoon-feeding it to us. Or rather, dropping breadcrumbs. With Eida, it's more so spoon-feeding because she is a singularity of fate. Koji has stressed this more than once. Her Senrigan, her perspective on the timeline, being able to see the present and the past up to her birth 19 years ago, they're all essential for one reason. She is the only person capable of detecting possible divergences that happen in real time. It allows someone like Koji to see things compared to the notes that he has on 10 directions and come up with course correction. Without Eida, Koji's prediction, there's still guesses, but he's no longer able to hedge his bets. Without Eida, Boruto also loses a major ally. When you really think about it, Eida serves as an anchor for both of these ninja. Then when you look at Himawari, her role, she is an unknown variable. Koji's been crystal clear here. Himawari must not ever leave the village. If she does, Jura will consume her. That tells us one thing. Himawari has a role that is so important that Koji cannot risk her death. Koji does not protect people. He protects the functions in the timeline that are essential. These two, Eida and Himawari, they have functions that are fundamental that Koji values above anything else besides Boruto. And that says a lot because Koji is the type of man who would sacrifice an entire stadium of civilians if it bought Boruto an extra 0.003% chance of killing Jura. But when it comes to Eida and Himawari, this guy's currently coming up with strategies to move heaven and earth and Konoha's entire military system, exaggerating on that last point, but he's doing all this in order to keep them alive. And that brings me to why Kashin Koji is able to basically flip off that humanity switch. So let's be honest here. Koji don't just shut off his humanity switch. Koji traded his humanity in for store credit and spent it all on flame resistant robes. This man has the emotional bandwidth of a toaster, and that toaster is still going unused. Boruto, he's Naruto's son. He would never accept a plan that requires sacrificing someone for the greater good. If you told Boruto, if you are at a fork in the road and you can only save one person, you can't use shadow clones, Boruto would sit there and argue with you and say, I'm gonna save both people. Koji might hear that and say, oh, that's tragic, somebody might die. Anyway, moving on, who's more important? And that also brings me to why this timeline that he's trying to prevent, it definitely broke everything. So when Boruto convinced Kawaki to remove his limiters earlier than he was supposed to, that changed the timeline. That fallout, Mamushi goes to the village and he kills Eida and Himawari. Not hypothetically, not symbolically, literally. We saw it. We saw their dead bodies. Eida was in that tree, and Koji specifically said she died, so she didn't become a Shinju. Himawari, we saw her dead body. Boruto, he might know what happened. We don't know if Koji told him everything on screen, but Boruto never saw it. Seeing something is what makes that bird in a 10 directions something I believe is tragic. Ever since, Kashin Koji, he's been in crisis mode. Not because he cares, but because the entire structure of 10 directions is now unstable. That's why he needs and he feeds Shikamaru a plan that looks like a collaboration. And they are collaborating, but Shikamaru is being used. This is basically Kashin Koji desperately trying to prevent two keystone figures from dying too early. Shikamaru thinks that Koji's being helpful, and to a degree he is, but Kashin Koji is basically earthquake-proofing the entire timeline, at least until Boruto can eventually kill Jura. However, you better believe that things have potential to get even darker. So this is the funny part. Kashin Koji genuinely believes he is this grim, morally gray anti-hero in a bleak, tragic epic. But someone should really remind him, hey buddy, Kashin, you might want to sit down for a second. You're in a story that is in a shonen magazine. If you want all this darkness, you can go to the graveyard. You can find the Zack Snyder DCEU. They love guys who brood and sacrifice villains. Chances are you're going to be dying soon anyway. You're Jiraiya's clone. You can go join Henry Cavill's Superman and Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman in the graveyard where nobody thinks about. And that also brings me to the hidden death that Kashin Koji might not be telling Boruto about. Based on Kashin Koji's past actions and his dialogue with Inojin and the structure of 10 directions, I think that we have enough to say Koji potentially saw another unavoidable death in the future. How much further in the future, we don't know, and he's hiding it because revealing it, that would mess with Boruto's resolve and make Boruto change the timeline again. He does not want destabilization. Who are the candidates here? Well, it's not Boruto. That's impossible. Boruto needs to be used to kill Jura. Sarada, I mean, it's not her either. Koji stressed her Mangekyo is going to be needed later, so she's definitely off limits. Himawari, only if she dies at the right time. But for right now, Koji needs her alive. Eida, well, we know that she's fate's anchors. She must live and be able to use her Senrigan in a post-Mamushi world. So who dies? It might be someone close, might be someone important, might be some random fodder ninja we've never met before. Boruto will try to save him too. Boruto, he doesn't know who it is, but Kashin Koji knows. The second he says that name out loud, Boruto's gonna refute that entire path entirely, because Boruto inherited Naruto's very kind soul. Kashin Koji didn't inherit Jiraiya's kindness. Instead, he got zero empathy and a fireproof blanket. He's looking at everybody else burning in the fire and saying, hey fam, I got a fireproof blanket, I'm fine. What the hell are you gonna do? If your house was on fire, Kashin Koji is not like Boruto. He's not getting buckets of water to help. Instead, he's breaking out the marshmallows, he's roasting them over the fire, and he's thinking to himself, if your house is burned down and something goes wrong with the insurance company, I can buy this lot and build my own house. These two were never going to agree. And that's what makes it peak narrative conflict when you think about it. Kashin Koji's secrecy creates 3 layers of conflict. Boruto versus fate. Boruto refuses to sacrifice comrades. God bless his heart. Kashin Koji builds strategies assuming sacrifice is inevitable. God bless his heart. You also have Shikamaru versus reality. Shikamaru right now thinks that he's in control because he's the Hokage. Koji's giving him different strategies, but he's the authority figure. Koji is basically letting him believe that until this Himawari and Eida crisis ends. To a degree, Shikamaru knows that he's being used, but we'll get to that later. Then it also sets up the conflict within 10 Directions. The timeline's fragile, that's been made clear numerous times. As far back as chapter 13 when we learned about 10 Directions. Every change, it has consequences. Boruto's already broken that timeline once. He might have broken it again, because he never told Koji what the details of his deal with Momoshiki were. Koji's trying to prevent changes that could unleash a chain of events that Koji does not have pre-planned outcomes to deal with. We could have situations where the narrative is setting up Boruto's compassion be tested, Sarada's role to become clearer, Himawari's purpose fully emerges, and then you have Kashin Koji being this utilitarian, ruthless guy. In a low-key way, he is the opposite of Boruto. He is the story's ideological antagonist without being a villain. Think about what I just said there, and you should get what I'm saying. If you don't get it, I will clarify in the comment section. The truth is, Kashin Koji, he didn't just cut his humanity switch off. He unplugged the entire panel. He threw it in the ocean. Then he lectured the fish about the greater good. And when the fish started back-talking, he proceeded to open up a cable line, drop it in the ocean, and electrocute all the fish in the ocean because there was a shark coming the way. Meanwhile, you got Boruto. He's out here like, guys, maybe we could just save everyone. And Koji's like, that's cute. 3 people need to die by Thursday. Get it done. Kashin Koji's entire strategy with Mamushi isn't about saving Konoha. It's not about loyalty. It's definitely not about teamwork. It's about preserving 2 crucial figures, at least right now. Eida and Himawari. Long enough that 10 Directions, the visions that he saw, they stabilize and we stay on the path where Boruto can defeat Jura. He's the reason for so much when you think about it. Koji believes that knowledge can break fate if people misuse that knowledge. He believes that hesitation can destroy timelines. Koji knows someone is going to end up dying. He knows telling Boruto is going to derail that. He knows that the stakes are too high to risk deviation. So we see it. He's telling Inojin he's going to keep quiet if someone needs to die. Not out of cruelty, not out of fear, but because he truly believes that's the only thing that matters. The only thing that matters is defeating Jura. Even if a path to that future is paved with the lives of someone that Boruto might try to protect. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and clicking here on the left to check out more Naruto Explained videos, or click here on the right to check out videos from my other 2 anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto content.